it appears there could be some real consequences for some of the state and local Republicans who cast fake electoral votes for Donald Trump in the 2020 election. Now, again, this was part of that plot, that scheme to try to steal the 2020 election away from Joe Biden, the actual winner, and give it to the loser, Donald Trump. So now, according to HuffPost, 59 Trump electors who claimed to be duly elected and qualified could actually, on official paperwork, could face federal charges ranging from election fraud to mail fraud, in addition to a range of different state-level charges pushed by different states' attorneys generals. At least 2 states' attorneys generals are pushing the Justice Department to intervene, to make some charges, do some indictments. One of them includes my state of Michigan. So I'm actually proud about that. That's awesome. So now the State Department has admitted that it is actually looking into this and into the several states where Trump supporters had gotten together and basically sent out fake certifications that were sent through the United States Mail Service to the National Archives that claimed that, the other people who had certified, they're not the real electors here. We're the real electors, and we're voting for Donald Trump. And so now, as I mentioned, 59. So now, what are the different states? In Arizona, you have 11 Republicans that filed paperwork falsely claiming to be the state's electors. In Georgia, you had 16. Nevada, 6. Wisconsin had 10. Michigan had 16 that had tried to file this fraudulent paperwork about the election. So now, what's interesting here is there's actually more than 59 of them that attempted to do this. However, there was some specific language. You see, some of the electors, the fake electors, were not as dumb as some of the others. And so let me give you an example here. So now in New Mexico, Trump supporters have put in, had filed this certification that began with a disclaimer. So now this disclaimer, the language in it is actually really important. They said that we, the undersigned, on the understanding that it might be later determined that we are the duly elected and qualified electors. So in there, they're saying, well, we're not actually the electors, but if by some chance the certification was reversed, then we would become the electors, and then you could count our votes. But we're not actually saying that we are the electors right now. We're not claiming to be. We're just saying that if something happens, then we would actually be the real electors. Okay, so now that disclaimer is kind of important, as you're going to see. Now, 20 Republicans in Pennsylvania also made it further clear that their paperwork was not valid unless the November 3rd election result was reversed in their state. They said, we, the undersigned, on the understanding that if, as a result of a final non-appealable court order or other proceeding prescribed by law, we are ultimately recognized as being the duly elected and qualified electors. Their paperwork began. So again, disclaimers, right? Disclaimers, disclaimers, disclaimers. Now in Georgia, they were not smart enough to have a disclaimer. Now that's going to be very relevant here, because if you happen to have the disclaimer, there's a possibility that it might, and I say might, protect you from certain charges, criminal charges. In fact, in Pennsylvania, it's already been determined that they had not broken the law, at least so far. In fact, State Attorney General Josh Shapiro cited this in his decision not to prosecute these 20 fake electors, saying, these fake ballots included a conditional clause that they were only to be used if a court overturned the results in Pennsylvania, which did not happen. Though their rhetoric and policy were intentionally misleading and purposely damaging to our democracy, based on our initial review, our office does not believe this meets the legal standards for forgery. And so, look, I get it. I understand the position that he took. He's like, look, yeah, of course they tried to, sign a paper saying well, we believe that Trump won, and that, but unless, you know, we would like to be the electors, but if we're not, I mean, you know, if you say we're not, ultimately, you know, through court order or whatever, then we're not the electors. And so, again, that basically might save them. Now, in Georgia, as I mentioned, they're not smart enough to have done this. So they don't have the disclaimer and therefore are open to criminal liability. Now, according to Glenn Kirshner, now what kind of, by the way, I'm getting ahead of myself. What kind of criminal liability? According to Glenn Kirshner, a former federal prosecutor, the potential federal crimes include forgery, obstruction of an official proceeding, conspiracy to commit fraud, and because the mail was sent through the USPS, mail fraud. The more seriously the offenses carry prison terms as long as 20 years. Oops. Sad baby. Now, and by the way, that's not all of the possible charges. There could end up being more levied. This could just be the beginning. That said, there's more. Where it gets interesting, even more interesting, is the Trump connection. Now, Georgia, one of the fake electors, this is Georgia Republican Party Chairman David Schaefer, who said that it was Trump's lawyers in Georgia who told him and his group that they were not allowed to change the document, to put that little disclaimer in there that might have protected them. And so now he said that Trump's lawyers told him that any changes to the language they provided would endanger Trump's legal challenge in state court alleging fraud and other election quote-unquote irregularities. Fun. We were told not to alter the form by Trump's lawyers. Now, you know what that means? That means that Donald Trump told his lawyers, very likely Donald Trump told his lawyers, or people around Donald Trump told them, hey, we don't want you to change the document. Do it as is. Pretend to be the electors. Pretend to be the electors so that you can vote for us and we can steal the election. And that's it. And again, this plot already has a name, the Green Bay Sweep. I've detailed this on the show before, on previous videos. And basically the plan was outlined in a memo by lawyer John Eastman, shown to Donald Trump, supported by Steve Bannon and Peter Navarro. Steve Bannon, at the time, was not a member of Trump's cabinet. However, Peter Navarro certainly was, and then went on to brag about it in his memoir. Well, congratulations. Congratulations. Well done. The smartest people, the best people. Now, Mike Pence was also aware of this, by the way, of this plan, and he basically ignored the fraudulent state certifications on January 6th, and that's following the mob that attacked the Capitol, once again, on orders, on tweets from Donald Trump, to try to intimidate him. Oh, Mike Pence, if Mike Pence, you got to do the right thing, or else we're not going to have a country anymore. Mike Pence, I'm calling on for you to reject the certification. He knew the plan. And he's like, nah, dog, I'm not gonna go along with this one. It's not gonna happen. For one, it's stupid, and secondly, it's not gonna work. And third, it's gonna get me in trouble. And so, Mike Pence, saving himself, well, of course, and ironically doing the right thing at the same time. Hey, those things can happen. Now, if the DOJ, look, I hope the DOJ indicts some people and goes into discovery and finds some other interesting links. We could find out more information that could implicate Donald Trump. The more the better. The more evidence, the better. Bannon or other people that are involved in the scheme, and be able to build a really wide-ranging, gigantic, ironclad case against them. And if that's the case, watch out. We might actually have some accountability for them trying to fraudulently steal an election. Oh, and that would be wonderful. Imagine that. accountability.